What is going on, my friends? Today I figured I would give you guys my top 12 tips that I have learned out in the field running crews. More specifically, running a company, but I think a lot of this stuff actually applies to just being a foreman in general, but more to the tune of like running a company and being the one that is in control of the whole shebang. So here's my list of 12. Number 1, everything is on you. Everything comes down to you. If a job is starting to go south or it doesn't finish in time, your crews pack up and go home. You're the one that's got to be out on the weekend finishing things up if there's deadlines. Otherwise, you're going to keep jobs held up, or they're going to keep draws from you because you're not hitting deadlines. There's a lot of things that you have to do to not piss off your customers, and we'll be honest, most of your employees don't give a shit. They just, when it's quitting time and it's Friday, they just want to go home. They don't care. So at whatever pace they're working, you can try to get them to finish things by a certain time, and some of them will, push, or some of them will stay extra, but some of them just don't fucking care. And all of the leftovers, all the scraps, it's gonna all come down to you. Right now it is Sunday. Tomorrow is the 4th of July. Today is Sunday. Yesterday was Saturday. Worked yesterday. Working today, and I'm gonna work tomorrow on the 4th of July because we are so crazy behind that somebody's got to come in and pick up slack. So there's another guy with me too, kind of the superintendent, like really old school dude. He and I are just gonna push this shit out and try to get as much done as we can so that when everybody comes back in on Tuesday, we are at least caught up, or we can get some of these like low-hanging bullshit things that just need to be out of our way so we can keep people on jobs and have crews running smooth next week. So that's all just to say it all comes down on you. You have to be the person that has to care more. You have to be the person that works the longer hours. You got to go in early. You got to go in late. You got to deal with all the phone calls and the emails. And somebody just texted me yesterday on Saturday. It was a customer that's got something going on, 4th of July party, and they're like, oh, blah, 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 all this stuff's not working. You have to deal with all of that stuff. And you can't bitch about it to your employees because they don't care. You're in the position you're in, and you're gaining from, all of this. So you got to put up with the shit, and you got to pick up all the pieces. That brings me to my next point, number 2. Nobody cares as much as you do, and you cannot expect them to. You can never expect your employees to care anywhere near as much as you. You're reaping the benefit. They're being paid to do tasks, to do a job, so they don't have as much at stake, so they're not going to care as much as you. And if you expect them to care as much as you, you're gonna be disappointed, and you're gonna be let down more often than not. You got to understand that you work for your employees don't work for you. You're the one that's out in front trying to keep them good, make sure that they've got paychecks, make sure that they're set up and their family and everything is okay and that they're good. You need to serve your employees, and even in serving them and dealing with all the shit and working on the weekends, doing all this extra crazy shit that you wish they knew about because you wish they would work as hard as you, none of that matters to them. Right? It only matters to you, and if they were the ones making the profit, if they were the ones getting the highest wage and all of that stuff, they would probably care as much as you if it was their thing. But it's not their thing. It's your thing, and you're the only one that's going to care like you. So you just have to put that in perspective and understand that. Of course, everybody wants to hire and find people that are like all-stars that are just going to be for the company 100% and work every Saturday and Sunday, but you can't do that. They're not getting paid enough. There's not enough at stake. Maybe if you had some kind of profit sharing arrangement or like part ownership in the company, you could maybe get people to care as much as you, but unless they're making the check you're making, they're not going to care as much as you do. So stop expecting them to, because the expectations are going to drive you up a wall, and they're never going to be met, and you're going to go out of your mind, and you're going to think everybody's a shit employee when they're really not. You're just handling bosshood shittily because you have these expectations. So don't expect them to care more than you. Number 3, it is your job to make everybody feel like they're doing great 90% of the time. If you are belittling people and making them feel insecure and making people feel like shit and making them feel guilty and all this stuff and just riding their asses all the time, it's gonna burn them out and they're not gonna want to work for you anymore. They're gonna feel retracted inside of themselves and they're not gonna feel like they're growing or they're doing good. So you need to be telling people from time to time, like, dude, you're fucking killing it. Thank you so much. Like, you did this really well. Oh my God, that's the best I've ever seen you do this before. The more that you do that kind of stuff and you just give them kind of a positive motivational push, they're gonna keep trying to do that. They're gonna keep trying to do better. Most people, there are some people that are just not gonna give a shit either way. Some people need negative reinforcement to kind of push them through things. But for the majority of people, don't forget to tell them that they're doing a good job, and do it often. Not so much to the point where they're spoiled and they just get a big head on them and then you're telling them all the time and then it has no effect because they just hear it all the time from you. But really, like, reward them with an attaboy or an attagirl from time to time. It really goes a long way. If you give people an opportunity and give them a shot, show them that you believe in them and that, you know, give them things that are kind of outside of their ability to see how they handle it, because stuff like that, even though it might stress them out, it kind of makes them think that you think that they're ready for something beyond what they're capable of. And a lot of times they're not going to want to let you down and they're going to sit and do some research and try to figure things out. So kind of push people, but be a positive motivational force. Don't be a negative motivational force. Number 4, it is your job also to make people understand when they're not doing a good job. And for the simple fact that nobody else is going to do it. When something happens, you got to address the problem, right? There's this whole like fix the blame versus fix the problem. Don't fix blame on people for things, just fix the problem. If somebody messes something up, make sure that your corrections are, the problem is this and this is how we fix the problem. Don't be like, you're such a piece of shit and you're all of this all the time and I can't believe you would do this and what the fuck's wrong with you. If you're attacking people's character, nobody's ever gonna admit that they're a piece of shit. Nobody ever wants to believe that they're bad at anything or that they're wrong or that they did something wrong. Everybody's first reaction is always to stand for themselves and not be wrong. So you're gonna get pushback on that and it's not gonna fix anything. It's gonna make people feel more insecure. And if anything, it's gonna make them start trying to like cover up things so that you don't see them being a certain way. And it's gonna fuck with them more than it's gonna help. So make sure that you're telling people when they're making mistakes. Doesn't matter, you know, who they are or what kind of their energy level is, if they're gonna get mad or whatever. Don't worry about any of that. Just address the problem and make sure that you speak up and say something when they fuck something up. Now, don't speak up every single time they fuck anything up ever. You've got to have some leeway. You got to be a little bit liquid and understanding. You know, there's people around me that messed up. I mess stuff up. But when people around me mess stuff up, sometimes I'll just look at it and be like, nice, you're doing fucking great. You know? And I can laugh through it, and it's not like I'm like picking them apart because they keep fucking stuff up. There are some days, right? There's some days where you just wanna, you've gotta like pull that back and realize that there are some times that, yeah, you just need to jump somebody's shit because they're either in danger in somebody's life, they're doing something ridiculously dangerous or stupid, and that quick, you know, like getting on them is gonna straighten something out. It's gonna make them focus and pay attention. But I would be careful with this. You need to spend more time building equity with people and building relationships and getting to know them and their families and giving a shit about them in general at all times, so that every once in a while when you're a dick to them because they need to listen or they fucked something up so bad that you're like brutally pissed and you need them to understand how fucked up it was, that's when you can deliver a message and they will actually take it in and like, fuck man, I really disappointed him. I really did something stupid and I wasn't paying attention. But if you're always belittling them, they're not gonna, like, anytime you like give them a correction, they're not gonna give a fuck because they're just used to you always jumping their shit all the time. So build equity, build stock in somebody. And that goes for parenting too. So like, I'm not here being like, oh, you should parent your kids this way. I have found it effective in my relationship with my son to give a shit about him. You know, like I ask him questions all the time and I may not even be shit that I care about. I involve myself in him and his life and the things that are important to him and what kind of music he's listening to, what kind of movies he likes. he's into anime, and at first I didn't give a shit about anime. I was like, yeah, let's watch this anime, because I just want to be involved in his life, and him seeing that I care about the things he cares about, even if I don't care about him, builds equity, and it kind of builds a relationship, so that when I have to jump his shit for something every once in a fucking blue moon, it matters to him. That actually like sits with him really hard. So just build equity, but you are going to have to be the one that delivers these hard messages, because honestly, people are just going to try to get away with whatever the fuck they can. Especially nowadays, people have a lot less integrity than they had in prior generations, and if you're not the one saying something, chances are nobody else is going to. Number 5, this sounds really hokey: be as solid as a rock, but as fluid as water. So you need to be the person that has strong resolve. You need to be the one that can make decisions even if they're the wrong decisions, and you need to own up to those decisions. So a lot of situations you'll get into things and people are like, oh, I don't know what to do. What are we gonna do? What's going on? And if you're allowing yourself to be frenzied in front of everybody else is gonna feel frenzied. So you need to be the one that's just like, hey, everything's fine. It's gonna work out. Don't worry about this. Even if you're shitting a chicken in your mind, you need to be the one that is calm and has a solid resolve and that can take care of problems. You gotta realize, after doing this a while, I think everybody comes to this realization, there's nothing in the world that can't be fixed. You missed a pipe underground, you just get a piece of equipment. It might cost you a couple $100 for a rental for the day, and go dig the shit up and fucking fix it. You break a pipe, yeah, we gotta figure out a way to turn the water off. You gotta call a fucking plumber over here. Plumber's gotta fix the pipe, dig some shit up, probably gonna back charge us. It's not the end of the world. We're doing a job and all the drywall's up and we forgot to put a wire. Oh shit, that sucks. Cut the fucking drywall. There's a fix. It's just, some fixes are more expensive, and sometimes you're gonna have to take the hit and eat the shit on a mistake that you made. But everything is fixable. So when you get into a situation and you're like, oh shit, calm down a minute, take a breath, turn around, take a deep breath, walk it off for a minute, and just think, okay, what do we have to do to fix this? What are our options? What are like 1, 2, and 3 that we can do, even if we gotta own up, even if I've gotta eat humble pie and apologize and say that I messed up? Own it and be the person that says I messed up, even if it was your journeyman or your crews or whatever. Be like, I messed up, we messed up, sorry, I will fix this. No matter what, I will fix this. That's gonna go a long way for your customers, but also your employees seeing that, it's gonna be like, okay, he's got us. So like, no matter what happens, we're good because he's solid. But you also need to be fluid. And what I mean by that is, things happen a lot, right? Like, just you need to be able to shift and kind of go around things, and don't be so hard and stubborn all the time about things having to be a certain way that you can't just figure out how to maneuver around things. You need to be solid, right? You need to have, I guess, like a calm confidence and be collected, but you need to be able to change and adapt, and you need to be okay with adapting around your own problems. If you fuck something up, like, that's what I mean. Kind of be liquid, be able to move and be fluid and be able to change directions and figure things out. So don't be either one. Don't be just fluid all the time and soft and never have that ability to like be the strength, the backbone that somebody's able to rely on. But don't feel like you need to be that hard ass kind of thing all the time and you can't ever sway on anything. No, you can. You absolutely can. You need to be seen as being strong, but also being, open-minded enough that you can be changeable. Number 6, all of your employees, I think it's a really good idea to try to keep a goal out in front of them and just keep kind of stringing something out, whether it's a raise, whether it's a promotion, whether it's a certain kind of job, like they've only been doing residential and so now you want to get them into commercial and that they're interested in commercial. Kind of be like, hey, I got this commercial job coming up. Let me give you this plan. I want you to figure out this, 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 and this. Figure out what kind of conductors we're going to have to run, what size are they going to be, use the code, come in and tell me what you think. Or if it's an apprentice that's about to get their license and you think they're ready to give them a job, again, give them a plan. Be like, hey, go home over the weekend. I want you to look through everything and I want you to be able to tell me everything about this plan when you come back in. Let's talk about it. So just kind of like giving somebody a shot, but like keeping something out in front of them to attain, to go after, is going to make them feel like they're growing. And a lot of people get this stagnant thing over years of just kind of doing the same thing over and over and over. They get bored. They start doing sloppier work. They stop giving a shit. They stop coming in early, and they start leaving early. And if there's no growth or no potential that's growing within this person, and nothing for them to like aim towards, you're going to notice over time that they're going to start falling off, or they're going to stop growing themselves. So it's kind of up to you to keep something out in front of them so that they do feel like they're growing. And to be honest, that's not going to work for everybody. Some people just don't give a shit. Like some people, they just want to check. And so doing anything like this is not going to matter. Maybe they're stuck in a situation in their life and they can't grow because of life shit. And so they're just stuck where they're stuck. And, you're going to have people like that. You need to evaluate whether or not for other reasons they're worth keeping around or not keeping around. But I do suggest, especially for the ones that you see that want that growth and they want to move and do things and go here and get this, and really nurture that. Like those kind of people are rare. The really good students that are super eager and hard work ethic, like, dude, nurture the shit out of that. Number 7, kind of on that same note, is the inverse. You got to realize that you're just going to have people that don't give a shit. There are going to be employees that are always going to be employees that don't really care about growth in any way. They don't care about their career because they don't think of this as a career. They just think of this as a job. It's a means to an end. I need a paycheck on Friday, so like I can flip burgers, I can pull wire. I don't give a fuck. Like whatever. It's just a job. You're going to have those kinds of people. And again, you need to evaluate whether or not there's some kind of extra reason about their character or about their loyalty or anything, why you want to keep those people around. Because sometimes you just need laborers. You don't need like 17 leaders in a company, That'd be great. But if there's 17 leaders and 17 employees, you aren't going to be able to do much. So you do need people that just want to show up and have a job, and that's okay. I think like 90% of the people in America just want to have a job, and they just want to like live their life and go home, drink some beer, hang out with their family, and don't give a fuck. So the ones that are leaders are kind of rare, and so yeah, nurturing them, but you got to be comfortable with the fact that there are people that it's not going to work on, and they just don't give a shit. They just want to check, and that's all there is to it. Number 8. Listen to other people. Even if you're the owner of the company, or you're the superintendent, or you're a foreman or anything, you're in charge, you're a leader. Part of being a good leader is being a good follower and understanding when you should step back and let others do things. And being okay being wrong is a really difficult thing if you haven't practiced this, but letting other people be right and allowing yourself to be wrong is a really strong mark of a leader. And the experience that you have is limited to your experience, but there might be other people that have less years than you, but like have a mind that works in a different mechanical way. And so in certain situations, they might come up with solutions that are actually better than your solutions to a problem. And in those moments, if they come up with something, immediately be like, yo, dude, that was a fantastic idea. Hell yeah, let's do that. Who gives a shit that it wasn't your idea? It's only like somebody that's a really ego-driven, kind of small-minded person that can't accept others around them doing better work and having better ideas. When somebody else around me has a better idea than mine, it means I got to learn something, or now I have a new way of like addressing problems because now I have this different thing that I've never had before, this different idea. And so it just helps everybody out. It makes everybody better. So just be okay with people having better ideas than you and encourage people coming to you with ideas, because it's just going to help the team do better work and be more cohesive overall. Number 9, admit when you are wrong. A lot of people don't like to do this one. Nobody likes to be wrong, and nobody likes to have to admit to other people when they're wrong. But admit when you are wrong. Say it out loud. If you fucked something up, tell people. It lets people know around you that you're still human. And it lets them know that it's kind of a safe thing to admit when they're wrong. They don't have to like hide things from you. But be seen being wrong, and people will feel like, okay, they're just like us, and it's okay to be wrong. every one of us is wrong, but own up to it. That's the important thing, is how you handle being wrong in front of everybody is really, really important. And I think a really good mark of a leader is that humility and being able to admit when they are wrong. But also, immediately after, take ownership of it and be the fucking person that fixes it. You know, just saying you're wrong all the time doesn't really matter, but coming up with a solution and fixing the problem and being seen being wrong and then being seen correcting it is huge. It's absolutely huge for everybody to see that. Number 10, write shit down. I keep books around me constantly. And there's so many things going on with so many customers and crews and people taking vacation time and things that have to be done by certain deadlines and gate codes for communities, for houses, lockbox codes, material lists. There's just tons of stuff going on when you're running a company or when you've got multiple jobs going on with multiple different people. You need to kind of know what your people know. You have to know more about their jobs than they know about their jobs, and you have to know where they're at in the progress of their jobs. And it's not like 4 jobs. Like right now, we probably got like 48 jobs going on right now and 7 different crews. And so I have to know where everything is for every one of the jobs. I have to make sure to check in with my people by the end of the day to make sure they've got material ordered for the next day. I have to make sure that they're doing, like right when they walk in, to make sure that they've thought about these things that they're gonna do first in the day. You have to know the whole thing. And so it's a lot. And if you write stuff down and then you kind of be like, I got this, I don't need to do it, and you stop writing stuff down, you're gonna notice you start missing shit. So honestly, just write everything down. And for the simple fact of like, if anybody asks for anything that is from the past, you've been documenting kind of page by page, day by day, everything that's been going on. So now you have a record of all of this stuff. I mean, any phone numbers, like seriously, anything and everything that you can write down, write stuff down. Keep a little book with you and write in it all day, every day. Number 11, when hiring people. Oh my God, it's so hot. Sorry, I'm like sweating like crazy. Sorry there, my phone overheated because it's 105 out right now with the heat index of like 109, so phone keeps shutting off. Number 11, hire to the person, not to the skill. So everybody wants to hire like a journeyman that's got all this experience and blah, 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 blah. But you can get somebody that's a real piece of shit and not know it for about 6 months because they are being a certain way when they're around people. But when they're not around you, they're a different way to other people, and you don't really find out anything about their character after, a whole bunch of damage is already done. So I always say it's easier for me to find somebody with great character because I can train anything into somebody. But you can't train good character into somebody. People are just going to be shitty people, and no matter what you do, you're not going to change who they are unless they're they really look up to you and they want to change and be different, but that's a good character trait in a person. So I'm talking about people that are kind of shitty people. So the skill doesn't really matter because you can train anybody to do anything. So just make sure when you're hiring that you find quality human beings, and it's going to go a long way because the people that you're doing work for, customers, they want to have good, decent human beings around them when, a company comes out to do work. They don't want somebody that shows up that's got a shitty attitude, that's just obviously in a bad mood all the time, and that kind of seems like a shady character. They want good, decent people. So always try to hire to the person, not necessarily to the skill level. And then the last one, number 12, fire to the person, not to the skill. So the same thing applies. When you fire somebody, don't fire somebody because they weren't good enough at something. Don't fire somebody because they, they're not as good of a journeyman as you thought they were going to be. Fire somebody when they do something that is a bad character trait. It's like making bad choices continuously, like being unreliable continuously, like being unloyal continuously, being unsafe continuously. All of that is kind of like a person that doesn't give a shit, right? And you can't, again, if you've hired somebody and you realize God, this person's going nowhere and I really wish I wouldn't have hired this person, not because they're not skilled enough. There are times when you're going to want to, get rid of somebody because they're just not getting it, and they're never going to get it. And no matter how much time and effort you put into them, it's just going to cost you money, and they're never really going to go anywhere. That is a justifiable reason to let somebody go, depending on if you work in a right to work state or anything like that. Like, that might change your ability to get rid of somebody. Here in Texas, like, you can fire somebody on the spot. Doesn't really matter. They don't have to give 2 weeks notice. They can leave whenever. It's just a right to work state. But when you're going to fire somebody, make sure that you've given them ample opportunity to prove themselves. And they could be the greatest skilled employee. They could do meticulous, beautiful, great work, but they can be a complete dickhead to everybody around and belittle people and be hateful and just be a sour fucking human being at all times. That's worth firing. Honestly, their skill level doesn't matter as much as their character and who they are. And if you can't grow with them, and they're not going to grow with you, and they're not going to be able to look at themselves and realize their faults and apologize for the mistakes, instead they're just constantly like blaming everybody else for everything, and there's no accountability for their actions, like, let that person go. Who gives a fuck how good they are? You can find other people and train them to be good, but it's really, really difficult to find like outstanding human beings. And when you find one, just find a position for them. Figure out a way to pay them, because again, just training anything into them over time, you can do that. It's worth keeping those people around. So that's my list. Let me know if you guys have any of your own things that you think in the comments that I should have covered. Love you crazies. Bye.